Okay, this is a short video just to show how Gerk comes into play when you're in a combat situation moving into TSUN and what happens after it comes into play. And it's not something that I often see specifically touched upon. So the first thing is we know that there's different ranges of combat. We've seen that. You can see it in my How to Attack video. From here, this is the long range TSUN, but even further than that is we coming close enough to kick. So here's the kicking and intercept. There's the long range TSUN moving in and then coming in close enough to TSUN. But what's important is a couple of things. One, we've talked about that for training purposes it's fine to stand straight on, but in reality, when we get into a combat situation, I'm not going to be standing straight on. I'm going to have one leg forward. So I'm really going to be in a Hao position. Which leg I use to intercept, I don't know yet. But when he comes in with a kick and I've blocked, I'm now in Hao. My weight is always on the back. If I need to move closer to him, I'm going to move closer and then put the weight on the back. I'm never going to keep the weight on the front. And then once I've made the contact with him, I keep the contact with him. And now that we're at TSUN range, which is not, we're beyond TSUN range, here's TSUN range and this is striking range, I have to make sure that I keep my knee bent, and I have to keep the contact that I've learned in Gerk. If I don't sink a little bit, if I stay straight and I bend my knee a little bit, I'm susceptible, if he's strong enough and we're wrestling, which is what's going to happen with the legs, if there's any delay whatsoever in how the TSUN striking range unfolds, he can break my knee very easily here. So it's not just enough for me to crack the knee. I also kind of have to sink down a hair, and that will keep him so that when he goes to push on my knee, then it's almost impossible, because I can even withdraw my foot and I can fight him. But the point is, the TSUN aspect of the Gerk, of the connection between the legs, does not go away. And you're not going to find yourself here when you're fighting. It's not going to happen this way unless your opponent has no legs and tries no legs, and you don't plan on blocking any legs, because you're not going to block a leg from here, except by luck. If he goes to strike here, I'm going to do like that. It's too late. I'm going sideways. It's the same way in TSUN. We don't go like this. We come here, and once I've come in, say for instance here, and I'm vertical in TSUN, he's allowed me to break the wrist-to-wrist connection, which seems digressive, but it's part of the point. Once he's allowed me to get past wrist-to-wrist, and I go to strike, he can no longer jump me down like he could have wrist-to-wrist. I've entered into the triangle, through the door, making it look like I collapsed. But as long as I keep contact with his arm, I can now strike him, and he can't stop me except with wrestling. That's the only way is he can try to wrestle me. And I'm just going to use his energy against him and come in. It's the same way with these legs. If you haven't established your Gerk application so that your legs have caught his legs, and then you move in, and now see I have control, I'm not even putting my weight down, I'm like on top of him, I got his knee where I want it, I'm just touching my toes. But if for some reason I couldn't execute this fully and I'm this close, stepping back means I still have to control his legs. If I wanted to step back, can't really step in, you have to earn that. And here I'm struggling with him, let's say, and he's going to wrestle my knees for control and try to knock me over. You may be wrestling a little bit in here, but you have to be prepared to do that. And that means being able to control your weight, control your knees, keep your knee bent, stay bent here. So when we practice left leg. So when we practice in Gerk, and we're doing these exercises, we come up here, and we come down, we keep the weight here, we keep bent. We don't come up like this, and then down like that, so that you raise up, and now your knee is straight, because if you do, all he has to do is catch you behind here and lean back like that, and he will break your knee. So it's very important to remember that Gerk is something that stays alive because it's leg-to-leg contact. Something that stays alive during the entire episode, and that you have to be able to keep your knee bent, keep the contact, keep control, be light on your feet, and sink down a little bit so you don't get your knee broken, be prepared to move. He may be so strong, he'll push you back. You have to be able to launch back a little bit and come back and put that weight here the same way as we move forward like this. So we already launch and put our weight right on the back foot, just like in Shin Yi. Even though you don't normally see our training done that way, that's exactly what's happening when we use Hao Mao. And when we train it with E.G. Kimyama, and we step through, it's the same thing. We're still putting the weight on the back leg. There's no time in the Wing Chun when the weight sits here on the front leg. Okay, you'll see that in Hung Gar, Tum Toi, and many of the other exercises. But the reason we do Wing Chun is because this physics, just like in the Shin Yi, you won't see that, except maybe in the one set you'll see this at some point. But normally in the Shin Yi, you'll only see this. And that's the way it should be. And it's also what you'll normally see in the praying names, the Bak Bai Tong Lam. But again, for us, it's really important to understand where the weight distribution goes, where it stays, how the contact is done, keeping the contact, keeping your knee bent or dying, keeping sunk in, and understanding that what the ranges are, that this is Chi Sao range, but it's not striking range. Combat range, yes. Striking range, no. Coming in close enough and doing what I need to do. And I'm really, doing a good job here, and he's doing a good job here. But we're neutral. You see how I'm sunk? It's the same way as when we strike with the arms. I can't bring them in here and then go like this and then raise my arm and strike. Like you'll see in so many of the so-called masters' videos. This is just basic stuff. You come here and strike, if you're coming high, you still have to have the other one to control and contact, or you have to drive it down and keep contact. But if you come up here, you can't come in here and keep contact, then you need to make another move until you can keep contact when you do your striking. Even here, he's coming around my arm, and my arm is following him, and I'm keeping contact. I don't want to hit him this way, but I will. Or I'll come here. I'm using the back of my arm now to keep contact with him, even though I don't prefer to do it that way. But you know what? I suppose if he's willing to give me his throat, and I have to use the back of my arm to keep contact, I will. Now, if he were able to, see, he's going to die, otherwise he can strike me in the head. Go ahead, but that's where I'm going to use that again, and I can still strike. So the contact, the sticking is absolutely essential. The chain of custody of the arms and what you do with the arms is the same. The chain of custody with the legs. Thank you.